Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. Let's try that again. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. So today marks the 10-year anniversary of my first time competing in the Computer Olympiad. And I'm feeling really good today because they say life tends to speed up as you get older. And oftentimes I find that when I celebrate 10-year anniversaries of events, the anniversaries come at me a lot faster than the events themselves. But this time around, it doesn't feel that way. See, the other big 10-year anniversary I celebrated this decade was the 10-year anniversary of when I went on my first solo sexual date. That would have been June 13th of 2020 is the 10-year anniversary. Ironically, I also went on a solo sexual date on the 10-year anniversary. I went to the Chaz protest by myself, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone in Seattle. And it marked 10 years since the first time I went on a date with myself. Today marks 10 years since my first entry into the Computer Olympiad. And this 3.5 years feels a whole lot longer than the 3.5 years of when the events actually happened. Obviously, 2020 was a wacky year, and that's probably what contributed. But I'm glad! For the first time, the anniversaries came at me a lot slower than the events themselves. Usually, anniversaries come a heck of a lot faster. Right? So, for example, I'm trying to remember what are the big days in my life. The day that I went on the first date with myself, my first Computer Olympiad, the day I quit drinking soda. I used to have I was a soda-holic as a kid. I'm going to be celebrating the 20-year anniversary of that next month, actually. I had another time when I broke up with a girl and went out to as I was going out to commiserate it, I got lost and ended up in Ellensburg, Washington. I had a really good time doing that. It's been 7 years now. Eventually, when I do celebrate the 10-year anniversary of that, it's the moment between now and that anniversary is going to feel a whole lot faster than when I went to the Computer Olympiad 10 years ago and the time I went to Ellensburg, right? The fact that anniversaries come at me a heck of a lot faster than the events themselves really scares the crap out of me, and this time it didn't. Anyways, I thought I would show some of my computer programs. This is Uno Quattro that I'm working on. There's a little bit of a convention going on, some events. So as you can, if you understand C++, this is the neural network of feeding into neurons and activation with the hidden layers. I won't go into too much detail because I don't want to bore all of my audience, but feel free to contact me if you're interested in any of this stuff. This is one of the games that I'm going to be competing in the Computer Olympiad this year. It's Kyoto Shogi. So let's see, this is the Silver General, and a pretty good first move is to move it in front of the king. Now the computer is thinking for, so it's thinking 13 moves ahead, and so it projects, it gives it a score from -1 to +1. -1 meaning a loss, +1 meaning a win, and it projects that it's roughly even for now. So in Kyoto Shogi, the pieces change identity every time they move. Let's do one that most of my audience will be able to understand. Where's my checkers? This is Canadian checkers. So it has a big endgame table base. Let me see if I can show you guys how big those files are. As it loads, I'll show you guys how big those files are. We got 13 gigabytes of data. What I've done is taken all of the endgames with up to a certain number of pieces and pre-computed the results and put them into a file. And the benefit of that is that as it's doing its neural networks and it's doing reinforcement learning, right? Learning as it plays, and it gets to one of those positions, it will know the value of that position, and that improves the accuracy of the learning quite a bit, right? So we're going to go first. A good opening move is usually in the center. We'll go 45 to 39. 45 to 39. Now the computer is thinking. And again, it gives itself a score from -1 to +1. -1 being losing, +1 being winning. And it's thinking roughly 18 moves ahead now. There's a lot of pruning, right? Think about all the checkers positions. You could have 18 moves into the game. It doesn't really list all of them out because it does a few smart things to prune out some of those moves. Anyways, I'm feeling very optimistic today because of how slow time has been for me over the last 3 years. But it's a trade-off, right? I wish time could also move so slowly when we're not in a pandemic and not in an uncertain environment and not having stagflation, right? You can only have it one way, right? You could have a good life or you could have a slow life, right? That's too bad. Although, maybe having a mix of both. Or sometimes life can be a little bit slow and sometimes it can be good, right? This is the Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. Maybe a Peter Slow Show. How do you display slow? Bum 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 bum. The Peter Slow Show. Bum 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 bum.